Good morning. It's Monday. Welcome to the Small Business Support Group. Yes, the start of another week. It's starting to feel like the beginning of another week, doesn't it? It's that weekend is now standing prominent in the whole 7 days. And as we get up and wake up for the Monday morning, it feels like Monday morning. So we have Grant is here. Good morning, Grant.
How you doing, guys?
And we have Darren as well, because everybody else has. I nearly said buggered off. I've said
you just did then.
Yeah, I did. So everybody have a good weekend?
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounded positive. Yeah.
Darren, that was the most unconvincing I've ever heard.
I had my first experience of shopping. I went to Lidl for one of them pools and it was not good.
You live by the sea, man. What do you want a pool for?
Tell me about it. My daughter.
Paddling pool.
Well, Lidl were doing a fantastic deal. It was 100 quid for this pool that should be about 250. But literally, I was there half an hour before it opened. Not a social distancing or a glove or a mask. And people were just, it was mental. It was, and then as soon as people bought them, they were putting them back online for 250. So £150 profit. But when you look at them, that's what they're worth. So
what type of pool is it? Is it like a jacuzzi type of thing, or?
No, it's one of these kids pools, about 1 metre deep, 12 foot wide. One of these big round framed jobbies.
Okay.
So, but yeah, great bit of kit. But then that's just meant that I spent the whole weekend then looking for pools, and I'm a real researcher, so it was painful. It's been a painful weekend.
So you've Grant, you've been painting, haven't you? You did your painting?
I've spent the majority of my weekend either painting or eating.
Okay.
One of them's my most favourite things. One of them's my least favourite things. See if you can guess which is which.
Yeah, no, we don't have to. I don't have to guess completely, at all. I did. Obviously, this arrived, which is the COVID parcel on Saturday for my test. Now, I was going to video myself doing it, but because I'm such a sissy, and Tina had to stick the stick down my throat, and for some reason, I have a very, very small throat. I don't know why.
Really?
Very small throat, very big tongue, and she was having a lot of trouble trying to get to the back of my tonsils, and my gag reflex is atrocious. So so I'll jump. I'll talk about this now, actually, because this is what I wanted to talk about. First of all, well done, the government. Now, they don't say it very often, but I booked this under some advice from a respiratory, not doctor, but specialist, because I had this very heavy cold, which I still have. And she said, just get yourself a COVID test, just in case, because there's lots of cases where the COVID is sitting in the nasal passage, not going on down the throat into the lungs. So get a test just in case. So that's what we did. So I booked the test on Friday. Perfectly free. Went to gov.co and gov.uk. Booked it on, very easy. Put your details in. I actually booked 4 tests for the house in case mine's positive and then everybody else has to test. And that was it. It was very simple on Friday. And then Saturday morning, along turned up the Amazon delivery driver and dropped these off.
Wow.
So they're using Amazon to drop the kits off,
right?
Which is great. Which is brilliant. It's not as straightforward as you think, though, because as soon as you receive it, this is the technical bit. As soon as you receive it, you have to book the return pickup. That's with the Royal Mail, which is all very smooth as well. Then you have to register the kit online. And then once you've got the date and time for the pickup, which was this morning, you've then got a certain amount of hours to do the test before it's picked up. So because it was being picked up this morning, I had to do it between 9 p.m. last night and 7 a.m. this morning, and because obviously it degrades if it's left in a tube too long. So I did that last night. Did it at 9:30. It's one swab, and you do your throat first, your tonsils, and then the same swab then shoved up your nose. Now there's a beautiful bit of text in here that says it only needs to go up an inch. But you do have to keep pushing until you feel resistance. Now, is that resistance your brain? Now, I'm not sure how this cavity section works here. But
it's going to be high up.
there was a line on the stick Now, I wasn't sure if that's where you should not put your hand past, or that's where it's how far it has to go up. It went up a considerable long way. It did, and it made my eyes water when it goes right up. So you do that, 15 seconds, twizzle it around. I fucking nearly gagged myself then. Twizzle it around, back out into a little test tube, snap it off, do it, and then the most complex way of sealing this up was that it goes inside a clear bag. Then it goes into a special airtight bag that seals itself, and you have to squeeze all the air out of it. Then it goes inside a box. Then you have to build the box and put it inside the box. Then you have to wipe the box down, and we get loads of these stickers, which they leave you with two. Don't know why. One on the test tube, one on the box. Then the tracker thing, and then knock on the door at 9:30 this morning. Royal Mail, all gloved up, masked up, and also a protective visor as well. And you have to leave it on your doorstep, then shut your door, and then he collects it. So it's gone, and I'll get the results in 48 hours. So well done, the government. That worked really well. Like that.
I must admit, I watched
questions. So again,
I watched a chap do it on online in Taiwan, one of the drive-through ones. And he sticks his head out the window, and they shove that thing up. And he's like, "Oh, that was a bit uncomfortable." So it did look like it went just a long way.
This nostril not as far, but this one went right up. I broke my nose years ago, so I think this nostril was slightly blocked. So that one went straight. Must have been up here behind.
Oh, joking, aren't you?
No, it went right. It's the stick was that long, aren't they? Halfway up there. Just wow. You know you've done it. I tell you, you know you've done it.
And you've no longer got a cold.
No, you know what the funny thing is? The cold went away when I did it. I've now got the cold again. What does that tell you? So so results 48 hours. So we'll hopefully we'll have them for the next couple of shows, and I'm fairly sure it's going to be negative, but you know when.
With this whole thing, Mark's always banging on about this, isn't he? He's always banging on about the testing, and we've got to get the testing going. It sounds to me then, from the experience you've just had, they've got it sorted.
I think it's brilliant. Yeah, they got it sorted. Definitely got it.
That was really efficient, and obviously, providing you get your results back relatively quickly, that sounds like a very efficient service. What you've just had.
It was. That's why I wanted to talk about, because I was blown away by it. I thought it was brilliant. And just when the Amazon driver turned up, I thought, hey, what's going on?
And I wonder how many of those they're delivering a day.
Don't know. I'd like to know. I'd like to know how much Amazon are charging them for the delivery.
Well, yeah, I mean that must be costing an absolute fortune, mustn't it?
Yeah. Well, even if it's like a $5 a time, because obviously they're in the areas. So you know, if how many they've done a few 100,000 tests now, haven't they? Or more than that, millions, aren't they now?
So the thing that I'm a bit sort of confused about, I don't know whether either you two know the how this works, but I've seen some tests that are look a bit like a pregnancy test, where you take the test and you get like a little thing with a line on it that says whether you've got. Is that the antibody test, mate?
No, the antibody test is a blood test.
Is it?
Yeah, so I don't know what the pregnancy test is. That the one they do in the hospital? I think that's the one that gives instant results in hospital, isn't it?
I've seen a couple of videos that have said, "Oh, you can get this by this test," and that's how it works. Right at the beginning, actually, even before lockdown, I saw that one come through.
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen that. I know I've seen some.
Maybe it's bogus.
But yeah, there was a lot of false tests at the start, wasn't there?
Yeah. I know someone going to the hospital this week, and they've still got to be tested days before going in. So I'm not even sure there is such a thing as an instant test. Otherwise, wouldn't they be using them in the hospitals?
Yeah, you would have thought so.
Yeah.
You would have thought so. Maybe that's bogus then. Must be.
Or you're pregnant, Grant. It could be that.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah, not that again.
It's a way of testing for COVID by weeing on a stick, but that's a different way of doing it. I wouldn't want to shove it up my nose afterwards, that's for sure. Right. So let's. That's something a specialist website will do. Anyway, let's talk about. Darren's got something to talk about with his ethically profiting in the current climate. That's very difficult to say. Even without a cold, I would suffer speaking that words. So, Darren, tell us what this is about.
So, obviously, everything's starting to open up now, and we're starting to see what looks like a return to normality. I think people in their mindset are thinking, lockdown's over, let's all start getting back to normal, for want of a better phrase. And so, of course, my business down here with the Segways, we're doing the same. We're jumping on the same bandwagon. We're looking to open in July. One site is already opening mid-June. And I'm sort of fighting myself ethically about whether I'm doing the right or wrong thing. There's part of me that thinks that should I be opening? Should I be encouraging people to come down? Should I be encouraging people to gather? Okay, we're still in that 5 people. So, for instance, our tours would be 1 instructor and 5 people on a Segway following us round. And I'm also looking at other opportunities, thinking that tourists are coming down, and there's 2 other opportunities. A climbing wall is one. And there's another opportunity which is closer to the beach that I'm thinking I could profiteer from, because I know that people, for a couple of reasons, that they're going to head down here in their droves. They're going to want to spend money because they haven't spent money for a while. And I think social distancing, as we've already seen, is out of the window. People aren't really abiding to that. So one part of me thinking, well, everyone's telling me it's okay. I need to go back to business as usual. So let's open. Let's be part of solving the economical problems. But on the other side of me, because I'm at disagreement really with Grant and Mark about let's get back to normal, because, and also with myself, I'm arguing with myself because part of me thinks that we need to get back to a normal, whatever that is. But part of me thinks that we're no different to where we were in March. It's the same problem, the same situation. There has been no fix to it. There's no vaccine. And what I'm doing now is fighting myself. Am I ethically profiteering from asking tourists to come down? I'm not going to ask them. They're going to come regardless. But I'm encouraging them by offering them something else to do, an activity that they may possibly add to the pandemic. So my thoughts are I'm jumping on the same bandwagon, the business bandwagon, but am I going to profiteer from then pushing on the pandemic and making it worse? It's a real difficult one because I'm sat right in the middle of them 2 problems. So it's my quandary at the moment.
So have you got people coming down like this weekend? That there's been a few visitors and stuff?
Yeah, people are starting to visit. I don't know where they're staying, but because obviously the campsites aren't open yet and whatever else. But the campsites will start opening from the 4th of July, they think. That's when they're thinking that they're going to give the Independence Day, give them a chance to start again. And same with all the pubs and what you see in the news with Boris of late there. He wants to relax lockdown. So I think if you look at Haven's site, for instance, they're opening, but they're saying that none of their amenities will be open. So no swimming pools, no clubhouses, but you can come and stay in their caravans. Right. So there's definitely a thirst to drag people down. And understandably, there's businesses down here which are suffering massively.
Well, they suffer anyway, don't they? The small businesses down there, seaside towns, they always suffer. But it is weird. Is there did I hear over the past few days, is there a spike in the southwest or is it the southeast? Where's the R?
Yeah, so they are in the southwest. So I had a little read up about this myself, and it's concentrating around Somerset area. So they've had masses of. There's a spike. So I say masses. It doesn't compare to London, but our R is at 1. So the southwest R is now at 1. So we're now the highest, gone from the lowest in the country to the highest. I think Cornwall is still behind that. So they're grouping the southwest all the way up to Bristol. So it's a big old area they're talking about. Cornwall is still at the moment, I think, not too bad. Certainly from the amount of cases diagnosed, but is it scaremongery? Is it fear, or is it real? I don't know, and I think that's what I'm struggling with. Is all this scaremongery? Where's the realism? And then when you see the madness that is going on with the people on the beaches, there's no social distancing. Me joking about Lidl, no social distancing, no masks, nothing, and then the protests to add on top of that. Of what's going on, whether you believe them or not, what they're doing in such big groups, is this just going to add to the second wave, and is it going to be bigger? And are we all adding to that by trying to stay alive, financially? Tricky, really tricky.
I mean, the riots, well, not the riots, the protests, sorry, that has been going on over the past few days. Obviously, down your neck of the woods with the Bristol incident that happened yesterday. I mean, that's going to cause issues, I'm sure, but it's because it's northeast as well. I think they've got theirs above our as well, above the 1. So I just feel I feel that the government are not going to do anything here. I think there's going to be a rise, there's going to be spikes, and they're just going to let it run. I've got a deep down feel that that's what they're going to do, because they can't shut down again, and that's a really bad thing to say, because it will destroy everything they've tried to do and get business back online. That if they have to shut down again, it's going to destroy anything. What do you think, Grant?
I feel really strongly about this. I've got to say, Darren, I don't think it's your responsibility to what's the word? If people come to, if your business is open and you have to open your business, we haven't got a choice now. And I know this is a very personal thing for you because of obviously your brother. Yeah. So I can't really imagine. It must put a completely different perspective on it for you than it does for me, because it's affected you so in such a personal and close way. You've seen the reality of what can happen. But my view is that COVID-19 is real. It's a thing and it's happening. We haven't got a cure for it right now. And the truth is that if we continue with another lockdown, because the death rates rise with COVID-19, I believe that is worse than not having a lockdown, and having there be another spike in instances of COVID. Neither of those two options is great. Both of them are awful, but we haven't got a choice. We have not got a choice. And if the economy doesn't get going soon, and that means you and your business, and you've got to take obviously every precaution that you can, given the guidelines that you've got to trade, the hardship, the deaths, the suicides, for decades to come, potentially, that we could have, because we're trying to avoid deaths in COVID-19, which is a reality, will be far worse. So I don't think you've got a choice. If you want to act ethically, my belief is that you have got to open as soon as possible. You've got to make as much money as possible in the safest way possible. And in your business, let's face it, it's not too difficult to be the sergeant major that makes sure everybody adheres to social distancing. Your business in itself socially distance by virtue of what it is. You can't get close to somebody when you're on a Segway. So I don't see any issue at all with your business trading, and any issue with you being an entrepreneur and getting this business and this economy moving again in this awful situation that we're in, because it's the entrepreneurs. We're going to save lives, and I don't say that lightly. It's not even tongue in cheek. Because if we can keep trading, if we can get business going, we can get money back into the economy, do it in a responsible way, do it by being absolutely, run it like a military operation. We've got to lead by example with the social distancing. We've got to make, if you want to be you can make everybody wear masks while they're on the Segway. If you feel that's necessary, you can make sure that you use all the antibacterial wipes and everything every time somebody gets off it. You could be really over the top, leading by example with this, and other businesses will see what you're doing and follow suit. And instead of complaining about people, not using social distancing, let's actually lead by example and show them how to do it. Because the only reason they're not social distancing properly is because they haven't been affected. They don't see it as a major problem. They're a bit thick, let's face it, and that's the bottom line. And until it affects them personally, they're going to carry on doing that. And we've got to lead by example, but we haven't got a choice, in my view. We have got to trade. We've got to find a way of trading, and we've got to be creative in the way we do it.
I always keep going back to Churchill and Coventry as an example, and it's a terrible example, but the reality is that someone has to make the decision of what is the lesser evil. And I think, giving up Coventry so we didn't lose the war, Coventry got bombed and all that sort of stuff. And it's someone, but the harsh reality is none of us really know where. I think he knew the outcome of that. He'll know that 30,000 people might die, or whatever it might have been, but we have a chance of keeping the code and winning the war. At this moment, it's just, I think the biggest battle we're all battling with is unknown, and I think that is our biggest battle. Not so much the virus; it's just the unknown. Very tricky.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. But I think that we've got to the way that I've worked my way through this is to try and use my common sense, as Boris tells us to, and we've got to look at the facts as we are presented them, and we have to make decisions based on our common sense and also the authorities that are giving us the information. Now, my common sense head is telling me that if we don't try and get trading now, if we don't use our common sense to trade, using social distancing and all the tools at our disposal, the fallout is going to be just absolutely horrendous.
Yeah.
And I don't mean the fallout for what COVID-19 is going to cause. I mean the fallout that what's going to happen to first of all, the UK could fall behind other economies. We could spiral into a terrible recession, as could other economies around the world. The knock-on effect could be horrendous, and I think it would be far worse than COVID-19. If we look at the stats, and that's something that I've tried to pay attention to, is the death rates. The kind of people that are dying, and trying to make some sense of it. Trying to listen to scientists that aren't the panic mongers, they're the ones that are looking at it objectively. And my analysis from all of that is that we've got something that's really bad. It's clearly killing people, and it's clearly an awful thing that we didn't have. But you compare that to what happens if we go into a deep depression, which is what we could be looking at. That will be 10 times worse than a COVID-19. And we needn't go into a depression if we can trade, if we can do trade. And we've got to do it safely, I agree. But, and the truth is that the way I look at this is that you make a decision based on the facts that are presented to you, and you stick to that decision. And if that decision ends up being the wrong one, and you look back and go, did I make a wrong call there because of the information that I had? And if the answer is no, I took that information and I acted in everybody's best interest. What more can you do than that?
Yeah,
no, that's true. I think you've got to get it moving down. I think it's definite,
mate. You've got to, and you've got to be the shining light. I think, if there are other people that aren't doing social distancing properly, show them how.
Yeah, I think the thing that for us. Sorry, Matt.
So I'm going to say, just do it safe. That's all.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think it is a challenge. I think there's part of me where I'm looking at additions where, and again, not just from COVID, there's a recession that people aren't planning for. There is, without a shadow of a doubt, we are heading into a recession. But people are living at home, buying barbecues and swimming pools, and thinking that absolutely, thinking that everything's going to be fine, and it isn't. There's going to be a massive hit. But yeah, I'm sitting here thinking, them same people who are being frivolous at the moment, I'm going to set up a new little business knowing that you're going to pass me and take your cash. So there is, it does, don't get me wrong, it is something I am very seriously looking into doing for the 6-week holidays, because I know that it would be financially, rewarding. But there is a part of me that just thinks, but it's common sense at the end of the day. We can't nanny state everybody. And also, the moment I start planning anything new, we will go into a local lockdown, which I think is how they're going to go next. I think as soon as I start planning, something happens. So I think what might happen is, and the only way, you're right, Matthew, we can't go into another country lockdown, but I think what might happen is regional lockdowns might occur, which could be going.
That's true. Can I just to put something that I've heard this morning, which was on 5 Live, about, and if you've been looking at the stats, Grant, I'd like to find out about this regarding the excess deaths. Can you explain that to me? What that excess death means?
So that's something that I've been looking at a lot. And if you go onto the Office of National Statistics website, you can do a comparison just by comparing the deaths previously. I must admit, I haven't looked at it for a couple of weeks, so I can give you some proper stats if you want to talk about it tomorrow.
Okay, I really do, because they made a statement on the radio this morning, and I just double checked it, and it's correct that we are, out of the whole world, the #1 country with excess deaths. Now, what is that about? I don't understand why we are that bad.
So it's obviously it's doing a comparison to what the deaths would be normally.
Right.
So, but I've seen conflicting information about this, because some people are arguing that the excess deaths obviously are due to the fact that we've got the COVID issue.
Yeah.
Some people are arguing that there's excess deaths as well that are being put to COVID that weren't actually to do with COVID. They were other things, such as, you know, sepsis or cancer or whatever it might be, that haven't been treated as a result. Whereas this weekend, I heard a different report that was saying it the other way, saying that some deaths had just been put down to COVID when actually they weren't.
Right.
So, and this is why it's difficult to use the facts to give us information, because even, you know, so-called authorities aren't really certain what you know, what is the issue. We do get excess deaths seasonally anyway, so you'll get certain years that have had more than the average number of deaths. And I always quote, you know, in the year 2000 there was a equal amount of deaths in the first week. I think it was the third week in January 2000. There were more deaths than the peak of the most amount of deaths in COVID-19, according to the Office of National Statistics. So the amount of deaths that we've had is not unusual. It's the fact that it's sustained. So it's been over a period of time, and obviously they keep quoting this figure. It's over 40,000 people now have died as a result of COVID. Not all of those are excess deaths. So, you know, in other words, we haven't had 40,000 more deaths than normal. In fact, I've got a feeling it might be more than that.
Possibly. I mean, it's the stats yesterday, you know, Scotland and was it Wales as well? Or it may have just been Scotland, where they had no deaths at all. So for a 24-hour period. New Zealand have now said that they actually have no new COVID cases for the past 24 hours as well. So why are we still getting? That's what I keep coming about. That's what the answer I want to find out is, why do we keep getting new cases? Which obviously move on to, you know, the deaths.
Look at Lidl. Look at the beaches. Unfortunately, it's probably got countries. You look at Germany, for instance, countries that will abide and do as they're told. And sense. You look at this country, and I look at the protests that happen in Barnstable, and I'm absolutely 100% behind the protests in America, and the reason why I'm not behind, obviously, all the rioting and looting and all that good stuff. I don't see the need. I need to protest and also get a 65-inch TV at the same time. That's all a bit new. But I'm absolutely 100% behind why. And I've watched too many videos, YouTube videos, of black people with their hands outside of cars when there's a policeman standing with a gun at them, and they're saying, turn the engine off. And they're saying, I'm not moving my hands because you're going to shoot me. I'm not going to turn my engine off. And they're scared to even put their hand inside the car. So I do get the rationale behind it all. But you just look at Barnstable, and you've got a load of white middle class people or young adults lying face down next to each other over a big massive park, ignoring all social distancing and probably not fully realising why on earth they're protesting. I did it myself. Remember the fuel protests? I went to the protests. I went up to Hams Hall and protest because I was bored and nothing to do. I thought it'd be a laugh. And I can see that we've got a nation of hobby protesters, and they undermine the actual cause of what people are protesting for. I actually agree with the Bristol one. Pulling down that statue shouldn't have been there. That's probably one of the worst things to have celebrated that guy and the slavery brought into Britain. So I get that, but it's just I feel that people doing it for the wrong reasons, and that's why we're spreading COVID, is because we just lack common sense.
That's true. Just on that what's happening in Bristol, it's not funny, but it's obviously pulling down that statue. They'd really have to level Bristol to take away all the comments. I mean, there's streets named after slavery. There's buildings. There's museums. There's all kinds of things which hone back to 400 years ago when slavery was around, and it's. I think I feel that yes, that statue was probably incorrect, and it shouldn't have. Well, when it was put up, they were probably putting it up for a different reason altogether. But ripping it down and just throwing it in the water was the wrong thing to do, because it is illegal what they did, and that's because you can't just accept it and go, oh, that's fine. It's all part of the riots and it's all the protests and it's fine. But it isn't, because you've got to have law and order. And if they felt strongly enough, then those X amount of people should have written a petition and handed it in. I know it's not the way they want to do it, the way,
Sorry to interrupt, but you're right, because they did exactly the same for a hall that was named after him in Bristol, and that got changed last year. So you are right. That is the right mean to do. I just understand the passion and emotion.
No, I understand the passion as well, but it also brings out the wrong in people. There's so many videos in the States over the weekend where the protests and the riots were happening at the same time. And they're video people, the news crews are videoing people flooding out of Nike stores with arms of trainers. And this is, what's this got to do with every Black Life Matters? It's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. It's just wrong. But what they're protesting against is correct, and that's the way it should be. Right. Anything else you've got to say, gentlemen? This morning we've gone over our time. Are we all good? Yeah, nothing else to say. Oh no!
Well,
sorry, you wanted to mention about your holiday. Let's do the holiday. Do the holiday.
Do you want to do it?
Let's do it. Sorry.
Cool. Okay, yes. So just briefly, then I did confirm and book my holiday to France this weekend. So first week in August. So thought it might just be worth letting everybody know what I did. So I booked. Normally go on the ferry, but I've booked the tunnel because I thought, well, that's going to be fine for social distancing. I normally go the last week in August, and I had preliminarily booked that spot, and it's right down in the south of France that we go to the same place every year. Know it really well. It's we hire out like a little chalet on a lake, so it's very easy to socially distance, and if none of the facilities are open, it won't really matter to us, as long as we can get our shopping. Our friends have also booked as well, so they'll be there too. It was I got one of the last few spots, so it was rammed. And then when I went to, so what I do is I got on the instead of going on the ferry, I went on the tunnel because of social distancing. I thought that'd be easy. I booked it at the beginning of August so that if we're in quarantine when we come back, which we may be, because if we're asked to quarantine, we'll come back. If we went to the last week in August, the kids wouldn't be able to go to school and stuff like that. But the interesting thing was we do the same kind of trip and we book a couple of hotels along the way. We sort of amble the way down, all the way down there. Hardly any spaces. I mean, normally you'd expect that this time of year, but given what's gone on, there were very few. It was tricky finding places to stay. Prices seem to be about what they were normally. In fact, if anything, they might have put the prices up actually on the place where we stay. But everything was available to book. They're all very happy to have us. The hotels in France have already got back in touch to confirm when we're going to arrive and all that sort of stuff. I booked it all through Expedia, which means that if I need to cancel any of it, I can, except for my main place where we stay, where we just pay them directly. And they said, if anything changes and there's another lockdown, we basically get a credit that will last 18 months. So my money won't be wasted. But I've done it. I've booked it. We're all good, and that'll be interesting. I shall broadcast all the way down there. See what it's like.
It's weird, isn't it? Because obviously a couple of the airlines have are they suing the government or taking the government to court over the lockdown that's going to, or the 14-day
the quarantine.
That was announced this morning, so I think that's the government have now said they're going to review it every 3 weeks anyway. So you can guarantee it'll run for 3 weeks, and then they'll just say, "Oh no, we don't need it." As the numbers going back up again, "Oh, we don't need it. It'll be fine," because this should have been done. And that was the thing with New Zealand. They've got that was the other thing. That was it, because they've got no cases, they've got no deaths, still completely locked down. No, you can't get not in the country. You can't get into the country.
Except Australia, they allow Australia, don't they?
Are they? Okay, that's what we should have done at the start.
Just allow Australia.
Just so no, we should have been right at the start. We should have stopped all flights coming in.
Yeah, no, sorry, Grant. I think what you're doing is a good thing, because we had a team call with my other world on Friday, and we're all suffering lockdown blues. And what it is with all of us is there's nothing positive to aim for. That uncertainty is, when can we go in the pub? When can we meet some human beings? But also, holiday is one of them focuses throughout the year that just keeps you sane. You're going over a real difficult time, whether it be personal, work, you're trying to get a big project out, or something's really stressful, and you focus on that week or 2 weeks away. And that's what gets you through that difficult point. And none of us have got that. Hence, all joking apart, the pool is, the kids aren't going away this year. I don't care how big this pool's going to take over our garden. And I don't care, because I need something for my children to look forward to, and I need something for us to look forward to. So when we do take that time off, we'll have a week of madness of swings in the trees and hammocks and pools and all that sort of madness. But no, fair play to you. I think that's, everybody needs to find their sanity point, and that's a good way of doing it. Good luck.
Don't forget, down, get one of those nice inflatable big ducks that you can sit in and sip your pina colada as you're floating around your 12-foot pool. That's what you need. That's definitely. If anybody wants any funny reading, then please go to the the Facebook page of Tide Bank, because that's who I bank with, and I still haven't got my bounce back loan. They're still causing mayhem, but the grief they are getting on Facebook is so funny. I mean, there's obviously some people who are in dire need of this money. Obviously, I was using it to invest into marketing, but there's a lot of people who are spitting feathers, I think is the easiest way of saying it.
Where are you in the queue? That's what I want to know.
Say again?
Where are you in the queue? That's what I want to know.
Well, I've asked for that. Let me just see if they've answered. You see, I was
2,000, I think you were last, wasn't you?
I was 42,000 last time. I don't think they've answered. I asked the question again over the weekend. Let's just see if they answered, and they haven't. No. Still haven't answered. So I was 42,000. There was 3 days gap. Asked again, still 42,000.
Wow.
I don't understand how that's working, because there's other people who are 3,000th who only signed up last week. This just makes a mockery of the whole system.
Maybe they, I was going to say maybe they're doing it alphabetically, but that would put you right at the front anyway.
Yeah. Can you please inform me of a position on my BBL list, please? Nothing, just blank. Just bloody useless.
Do you know why that is, though, don't you, Matt?
You're
actually 50,000th in the message response list.
Well, there is that. And you do get a response if you go on Facebook. Believe me, if you start slagging them off on Facebook, you get a response quite quickly. So that's a bit for today. Then I think that was good. We got through it without Maz. We didn't have that. We can do it, people. Excellent. All right. So thank you, Darren, for stepping in. Always good. Grant, we'll see you tomorrow. Have a great rest of the day. See you soon.
All right, guys.
Bye.
Cheerio.
Bye.